This is Moments with Fu with James Fu Torres, better known as Fu, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Fu is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Fu.
Hello, and welcome to Moments with Fu. I'm your host, James Fu Torres, but you can call me Fu, hence the name. And today I have Ivory Becker, which is a credit and debt expert, and she's the owner of Incite Strategies. So how are you, Ivory?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thanks you for taking the time to be here in my podcast, and I'm excited to get into the tips and getting into everything because I know this is going to be very good information. So
yes, definitely.
So to kick it off, just if you can give us a quick introduction about yourself, so the listeners can learn about you and who they're going to be listening to the rest of the podcast, and you can tell us what you do and what's your superpower.
Sure. So my name is Ivory Becker. As you said, I own Incite Strategies, and this is my passion. I'm known as a workaholic, but in my free time, I like to hike. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, or I am now. It's where I'm based now, originally from the Midwest. So those hard Midwest working values. But yeah, that's who I am. And I started this business with an entire goal of being able to help people and educate people about credit. It's really the forgotten topic. And, I saw a quote recently that stuck with me. Explaining how most Americans see credit scores as a strange piece of financial alchemy, and they just don't really understand how it works. And we're here to really break down the myths and help people understand credit in a lot better. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Because to be honest, I can relate a little bit to that quote because even though I managed to create a good credit because my mom was always pay everything on credit cards and then just pay your credit cards. Literally, that was the biggest thing that I've done to build credit. So I got that, but it's so much deeper into getting into you have inquiries that you have to delete. There's so many things, and that's why I'm happy that I'm connected with you, and I'm looking forward to learn more about you. So just to segue to the next question that I want to ask, you told us a little bit about what you do and why, but if you can go deeper about, what was the thing that really pushed you to start your business and to go through this path instead of going to, a different path with your business?
Yeah, I'll go into explaining really, I guess, the story behind why I started this business. I'm going to start by sharing the beginning of my career. So back in the financial crisis, the subprime mortgage lending crisis in 2008, I started with a job collecting on delinquent home equity lines of credit and home equity loans because it was the only job I could get. There was no jobs available. And I thought, hey, I can do that. So these were second and third mortgages taken out by homeowners prior to the subprime mortgage crisis who had no idea how the terms of these loans worked. And in taking that job, I had worked at, places like the grocery store before. I didn't realize how inundated with knowledge I was going to be on such a quick time frame to understand the complexity of those products. And my job was just calling people and trying to collect on their past due payments. What I realized is I could do a lot more by helping people figure out how to restructure their finances, because a lot of the people we were calling had never been in financial trouble before and didn't know what to do. And about 6 months into my career, I had a customer on the phone who had reached her breaking point with the collection calls. And my approach was always, let's get you a modification. Let's talk about how we can restructure your finances. But she just broke down on the phone with me and said she just couldn't do it anymore. She was on fixed income. She was an older individual, and she had been taken advantage of recently by a member of her church who stole money straight from her checking account. And she had them help her because she was weak from chemo treatments and she thought they were paying her bills, and found out that they weren't. They were stealing all of her money, and she didn't know what to do about it. So she told me all of this while saying that she just wanted to end everything. You know, she didn't want to live anymore. And it completely broke my heart. And I felt so ill-equipped to handle the situation because I couldn't do anything. All I could do was try to figure out what she could do about her finances, but I'm sitting on the phone across the country from her. And, you know, while I never got to find out what happened to her situation, I stayed on the phone with her for about 3 to 4 hours before we were able to get the police to go there. And I never found out what happened. It was so shocking, and it made me really dedicate the rest of my time there at the bank to figure out everything I possibly could about how modifications worked, how short sales worked and foreclosures and all the regulations around default and where the issues exist, and where there was room for improvement. And that really propelled my career internally at the bank. And I was able to move on into a new role where it was created based on me uncovering some major issues at the bank that had never been discovered. And it allowed me to work on balloon mortgages, which are basically at the end of your loan term, you paid only interest for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and now you own this giant payment. Could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I got to travel around the country, sitting down with people in convention centers from 6 a.m. sometimes to 11 p.m. midnight, and dive into everything and figure out what's every government resource that exists, what's every government program, what internal programs can we create, what are the regulations around debt and default. And then eventually that just stopped. One day it was, hey, great job. The mortgage crisis is over. And so I moved into regulatory compliance, where I got to work with a brand new regulatory body, the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're who monitors the credit bureaus and make sure they comply with regulations. So I got a really in-depth further understanding of credit reporting and how that worked, but worked myself out of a job again. Got told, thanks, you passed the Department of Justice consent orders and now you don't have a job. So I was like, what do I do now? So I went into financial planning. And financial planning, I just didn't have that passion, and that I didn't feel that same reward to where I was truly helping people in their hardest times. And so I found myself at one point, you know, throughout financial planning, I was always answering questions about credit and debt. And one day, when I approached my firm and I said that I wanted to do an additional piece of my process focusing on credit, and was told absolutely not, I was like, all right, I'm gone. And I quit a week later and I opened Incite Strategies, and here we are. So we focus on credit and debt, and a heavy emphasis on education, how it all works and how you can use credit as an asset for your financial picture. So that's my history.
Awesome. Yeah, that's like, you definitely had to, like, you know, with your journey of like working, you gain at least, you know, there was some bad stuff clearly, you know, and things that happen with, like, you know, people and the business, or, you know, being part of that business, I guess, you know. But it taught you a lot, seems like. So you learned a lot, huh?
Yeah, I mean, without that, and without absorbing like such an exorbitant amount of information on regulations and laws, and seeing firsthand day in and day out how people can be impacted by default and how it can just push people down, it really gave me a unique insight into what I could do to use what I learned for people to leverage and to work against the system that can in some ways hold them back.
Yeah. So what it seems like to me is like, you got all this knowledge now, and you saw how bad can it be, but you also learn like the options and how to, like, you know, how to help people to avoid getting to that point, and really use the system in there to their advantage, and not to just bring them down because they just don't know what to do and then do anything. Right. So
exactly. Yeah.
So you know, with all like this story that you gave us, and you know, clearly you gain a lot of expertise. So that gets me to my next question, which is, you know, given all your expertise that you have learned, what are some tips that you can give to, you know, specifically business owners or people that are looking to become business owners, that they want to really take advantage of credit and be able to manage debt, and like, so they can be, you know, okay, if I'm taking a loan or taking anything. So, obviously I'm not the expert on this, and we're looking to learn. So if you can give us some, some tips for aspiring business owners or already business owners that want to leverage credit.
Sure. I would be happy to. So a lot of people don't realize there's actually business credit and personal credit. So if you are a sole proprietor, meaning you don't have an LLC, you don't have separate business credit. Everything is based on your personal credit. When you're starting out in a new business, even if it is an LLC, there's going to be a heavy reliance on your personal credit until you've established business credit. And most people, as far as establishing business credit, aren't quite sure how to do it. So a great way to start is opening a credit card in your business's name. Very easy way to establish business credit. It's going to be one of the easier things to qualify for. But until you are to that point, focusing on your personal credit is really important. So a couple of common credit misconceptions are checking your credit can hurt your credit score. Checking your credit doesn't hurt your credit score. It's really important to make sure when you're looking for your credit score that you're not looking somewhere like Credit Karma. Credit Karma is not your true credit score. It's what's called a Vantage score. It's a completely different algorithm than the FICO scoring model. So you can go somewhere. We use a service called My Score IQ with our clients. And that's something that's a place that will give you your FICO 8 scores. And you can look at other different versions of FICO that'll be coming out here soon. But FICO 8's the most commonly used version. Another common misconception is inquiries are severely damaging to your credit. They're worth just about 10% of your score. And most people don't realize you can have 4 inquiries per credit bureau per year without any negative impact. So when you are starting to try to build credit, often that means you have to apply for something. And you can't get credit without an application. And that application for credit causes an inquiry, but just don't worry too much about that. That's not going to be damaging, and that shouldn't hold you back. Another big misconception is using credit cards monthly helps your credit score. You don't have to use your credit cards. Basically, a credit card is this amazing tool that is a double-edged blade because it can hurt you just as much as it helps you. But a credit card alone, whether we're talking personal or business credit, impacts so many aspects of your score, because payment history, if we're talking about personal credit, is 35% of your score. Credit utilization is 30% of your score. A credit card at a zero balance, not being used, reports to both of those categories each month, reports an on-time payment each month because it's an open line of credit. You want to use it once, maybe every 3 to 6 months to keep it active and keep that data feed flowing, but it's still going to help your score. And it adds longevity to your credit history as well, because the average age of your accounts is the next biggest factor. And a credit card you can have open exponentially, right? That can have such a drastic impact on the average age of your accounts. And that's not something there's a quick tip or a quick trick you can fix. So a credit card, alone can impact so many categories. I'm going to have such a positive influence. So that's my biggest tip, is make sure you have an open credit card. If you're afraid of credit, you don't have to use the card. Just open it, let it sit there, and you'll be rewarded.
Definitely. For me, that kind of, like I said earlier, that was one of the biggest things about like my mom. Like, she really taught me, like, just, use credit cards, get points, get all like cashbacks or whatever, right? And that's something that I strive to, like, as soon as I got my first job, I was like, okay, I want to have my first credit card. Like, like the first credit card was given to me by Navy Federal, and it was great. Like, I wanted to go to USAA, but they were like giving me a bunch of like trying to prove my identity, and they were having troubles with that. And I was like, look, this is taking too much. I went to Navy Federal, got my first credit card for $2,000. I was super excited. And from there on, like, I just been growing my credit. And now, like, I'm even like now in the business side. Now I'm like, I still haven't built my credit on the business side. And I tried to apply it, and I couldn't get it at first when I was kind of starting out. Now that I'm being in business, I definitely should. Like, I definitely will apply, like, probably this week. So that's good that we're having this conversation, because it's getting me to have like take action. And that's kind of what I want to get out of this for the audience too, because yeah, I want them to know you as a person and to know that they can, trust that you're an expert, and now give actionable tips and really, some good advice that they can go and apply as soon as today. So thanks for, sharing a little bit about that inside of like the common misconceptions and all that, because, credit is something that it's always going to be a thing, and it's just, you should definitely learn how to master it. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's our adult report card, right?
Basically that, because that's why like there has to be a way to how to prove to people that are gonna give you, lend you money or anything, right? Like, so there has to be a way to report that, right? Like there has to be something, because there's so many like scammers, so many stuff that there has to be something. And I'm glad that we have this, that and we have people like you that can help us navigate this complicated world. So
I will suggest, if your business is new, it is a good idea to go to Dun and Bradstreet. Just Google it. And you can update your business information on there. There's a lot of just missing information about a new business, even established businesses. So if you go to Dun and Bradstreet, you can correct any information on there, because sometimes you can't have a business credit profile established if that information isn't accurate. Another good resource is NAV, NAV. I can always share a link with you for NAV.
Definitely, I'm making notes.
Audience. Yeah. And NAV will help you if you want to pay to establish business credit. If you want to just create an account, log in and say, help me establish business credit. They're a great resource. They also allow you to monitor your business credit. But business credit does function very differently from personal credit. So it can be a very useful resource. It's a lot harder to find your business credit than it is for personal credit. So hopefully that's helpful as well.
Yeah, definitely. I made my notes already, and definitely just send me the links later. And when we post this in YouTube, we can have like the links there too. So about your recommendations. So to go to the next question that I want to ask, what's one big challenge that you have experienced? It could be in business in general or specifically to your industry, and how you have either overcome it or you're still overcoming it, depending on what's the challenge.
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges in our industry is the industry itself has a pretty negative reputation, a pretty negative connotation with scams, and for good reason. Unfortunately, there's a low barrier of entry to have a business in credit, right? There's no licensing requirements. You don't have to have any educational requirements. So really anybody off the street can say, hey, I'm a credit expert, and start a business and start offering credit repair. And oftentimes, a lot of the businesses that do offer credit repair start the business because they fix their own credit, or they find an advertisement online that says, start a business that you're going to make millions of dollars doing and no experience necessary. And it's unfortunate, because then it leaves the consumer, the average person, having to sift through the industry, getting burned multiple times, to the point where when they finally find a reputable resource, they're very leery of moving forward. They've already dealt with credit issues. They're trying to fix things. They've shelled out tons of money. They're already paying extra for their loans because of lower credit scores. So it's a hard pill to swallow. So what we do to try to combat that is we really try to position ourselves as an expert. We give credit education not only for consumers, but also for other professionals in financial services, like loan officers, realtors, car dealers, anybody that has to focus on credit to help their own client base. We want them to know how they can help their clients, right? And we want consumers to know what's actually myth and what's actually fact when it comes to either fixing their own credit or how credit works. Credit scoring, the actual algorithm, is a proprietary system. The 3 bureaus are private companies, so they do not have to publicize the information and how the credit scoring models work. We are given only general information. So to actually truly understand the intricacies of the model, you really have to see it working thousands and thousands of times to really develop a clear understanding of what actions are going to make differences on the report. And that's what we've done, through, I don't even know how many years, since 2008, a long time. I've been looking at the credit scoring algorithm and the models and how they changed over time, and we're able to divulge that information that is not necessarily easy to find.
Definitely. So it's there's a couple of things like that compares to me, for example, for verification on Instagram and like stuff like that. Like it's like they don't give you like, oh, you need this specifically, blah blah blah. Like it's more like, look, you need to be a notable person, send this link. So for us to be able to do it effectively, it has to be like through repetition, to trying and failing and all that stuff. So like I understand, like I can definitely relate to you having to really like to understand this credit, because they don't tell you like, oh, okay, step by step, you do this, and you're gonna have an $800 score, right? So you have to be like, okay, so what are the parameters that they're looking at? It's this. So what has the most impact? This. Like, what have I seen like work before? All that stuff. So definitely completely understand it, and I'm pretty sure like the audience also will be like, yeah, I understand, because I see my points going up and down, and I don't even know like exactly like how this goes. So
yeah, and we see a lot of things online where purported experts are saying, if you just do this, your score is going to raise 100 points in 30 days. And it's just, I hate people selling fear to gain a following or gain business, because credit's a serious topic. It impacts every single decision you make, from employment to utility bills to where you're going to live. So it's just unfortunate when some things are sent as a message. And can your credit be fixed? Absolutely. I don't want to say that it can't be. I mean, you can fix your credit within 6 months to a year, depending on where you're starting. Cut the timeline from the natural fix of 7 years to a year is amazing. It's just, make sure you do your due diligence when you're looking for good information. So
definitely super important, especially like in the internet, it's always been like a jungle and stuff. But like now more, because if it was bad before, imagine now that like exponentially grew the amount of businesses and everything because of like the pandemic. So now like everything is just like at the maximum point now, and really like in my line of business, in every line of business, to be honest, it's crazy. So definitely it's something that I learned my lesson the hard way, like trusting people that I shouldn't. And it's like, no, you gotta go and like do your homework, due diligence, and dig deeper, like FBI type research, because it's ugly sometimes. So there's people that are just not good people, and they don't care, and I don't even know how they sleep at night, but they're out there. So take care of yourself.
And some of it's just misguided too. I will say that a lot of people have great intentions. They just know enough to be dangerous. And unfortunately, that can impact other people and send them down the wrong path, although all good intentions meant.
Yeah, that's, and those are the ones that you have to protect yourself a lot too, because it's like, they are like coming to you out, and then as a person you're like, oh, okay, I see them, I trust them as a person, but you don't know their professional background. Maybe they thought, look, I got this, right? And gotta protect about that. So that leads me to the last thing, which is how can people find you, right? And if they want to learn more about credit, so they can contact you.
You can find us online at incitestrategies.credit, and that's INCITE strategies.credit. We're also pretty active on TikTok on Incite Strategies and other social media platforms. Awesome.
And this was really, really great. Like I made my notes. I'm looking forward to even getting with you offline and talking about these resources and everything, because it's something really important. And I'm looking forward to helping you out to get your message out there more, because this is definitely something that is really important, and people should definitely, like, the sooner you start getting into your credit, the better, because time, it's something that matters a lot in the credit space. So perfect. So thanks for taking time to really share some of your knowledge and your story in my podcast, and I'm excited to keep working with you and doing good things together.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Moments with Fu with your host, Fu. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.